Hello, everyone out there in podcast world. Hope you're having a great day. You are listening to or watching the Service Business Mastery Podcast. We have a special episode today. We're going to talk a little bit about voice AI and how the industry is changing. And we're excited. We've been talking AI a lot lately. And this episode was one that we're already booked for Wednesday, but we really wanted to talk to Tyson.
I think we're double booked for Wednesday. We're busy this week.
We are, and then I drive to go out of town. So we wanted to have Tyson on the show. We've been talking to Tyson a lot here lately with Avoca AI, and we're excited to have him on the show to talk voice AI and how it's changing the home service industry. But Josh, you want to get started?
That's like the tip of the iceberg, because they also are incorporating text and email. So pretty much customer service communication platform through AI. They're really focused on the voice component right now, because I know there's a lot of angst and people wanting that, and there's a lot of talk about it. So I think that's probably why and Tyson can definitely fill us in there, but we're very excited to talk about this stuff and get deeper into understanding what is coming, what's already here, and seeing what the industry has in store in 2024.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So let's get started with today's episode.
Are you looking for valuable business advice to reach that 7-figure revenue mark? Do you want actionable tips to properly navigate through every business challenge you encounter along the way? Let Tersh Blissett and Josh Crouch be your guide in getting you to the top here at Service Business Mastery. Tune in as they sit down with world-renowned authors in business, leadership, and personal growth who share valuable insights about management, marketing, pricing, human resources, and so much more. Let their nuggets of wisdom gold guide you in owning a thriving, profitable, and ever-growing business. Here are your hosts, Tersh and Josh.
Hey, Tyson.
Welcome to the show.
Hey, great to be here. Great to see you guys again.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've talked to you a lot here lately. You're probably tired of seeing my face. I've asked you a ton of questions. Every time Josh had a question, I was like, I don't know, let me ask Tyson real fast. So I've talked to you a lot, but for those who are tuning in and listening to or watching this episode, can you give a brief history of yourself, who you are, and what Avoca is?
Tyson, just real quick. I think your past background, because I know we talked about it last week when we were doing the pre-meeting, I think is important to kind of help people understand as well. If you wouldn't mind giving us like a brief overview of your past, however many years you want to go back, but your background, so that way people understand the evolution of the technology.
Yes, absolutely. I think that's a great place to start. So I've been in the AI industry now for almost 9 years. My background is primarily on the kind of AI ML research side. I studied computer science at MIT, spent many years in the lab there, working a variety of projects, all in the kind of AI, generative AI, and as well as touching a lot with voice and NLP. After MIT, I spent 2 years working for a lot of Fortune 500 companies in the management consultant capacity. So there, can't name exact, but a lot of large banks, Fortune 500 customers that were just starting to, that was around 2017 when kind of the first wave of chatbots were just taking over a bit and getting a lot of interest. And so was part of that early wave, helping to implement some of these systems for these massive corporations. And then afterwards, switched gears a bit to go into the world of self-driving. So I was an early employee at a company called Nuro. Nuro focuses on self-driving specifically for goods delivery. So they have, I think publicly announced partnerships with the likes of Uber Eats, Domino's, Kroger's, and many other well-known brands. So I was on the product side there for over 3 years, and then took the leap to start Avoca with one of my best friends from college around a year and a half ago.
That's wild. Like, we talk about AI because, don't get me wrong, like, I've heard of it, seen of it before ChatGPT made the big announcement and everything changed whenever that was, about a year ago. But like the last year has been
Wild.
like every day there's posts, there's new tools, there's all this stuff coming out, because now that there's access to an API where someone doesn't have to actually build their own AI or machine learning tool. It's wild to think that 9-10 years ago, companies they've been looking into this, developing tools and platforms and stuff. It's just wild to me to think it's been going on that long.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been it's kind of funny because even in college, I remember a lot of the AI classes that we took. The field itself has been, even when I was in college, 2013, it had already been a big field for 15, 20 years. The first kind of neural networks, I think, were created many years before. But yeah, it is interesting. I think a big part of that is just, exactly as you mentioned, the accessibility, and especially I think OpenAI kind of finally bringing something that's kind of interesting enough and useful enough to kind of the everyday consumer, that they're able to see that in their day-to-day lives and be able to interact with it more. AI was always, it's in the background, a lot of different algorithms that power many things like recommendations, which have been around for many years. But I think, it's only been really in the public eye, these last, year plus.
So first off, tell everybody what Avoca does currently, and what's the biggest challenge that you see in the near future?
Yeah, for our company in particular, or just generally?
Just like AI voice.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. Yeah, so Avoca, we are an AI call center platform. It is kind of our initial core product offering, and then we're expanding a bit beyond that to kind of cover all communications. Our kind of initial flagship product is an AI call center specifically for HVAC and plumbing companies. And so, the idea being, we have an AI digital assistant that sounds fairly human-like and is able to, in a conversational way, be able to answer customer questions and collect information. And then I think what's kind of unique about our system, as compared to some other, voice assistants in the market, is that it's very, very specialized for the home services, and in particular HVAC and plumbing. We have very deep integrations with ServiceTitan, which many of our customers use, and basically the ability to actually book an appointment or book a job, and take all of those details and directly be able to pipe that into ServiceTitan, House Call Pro, or whatever kind of CRM you're using.
So you're saying, like, right now, if let's say at 5 p.m. my phones flip over and I want this AI agent to take over,
yes,
it has the ability right now to take the information and also take that information. I guess maybe it's a mental block on my side. It can actually enter the information into like a ServiceTitan and then book the job as well.
Yes, precisely. So it would sound, it's still not 100% human-like. And so you can, and we want to be upfront. We're very clear. Hey, this is, let's say you guys had like, Turch and Josh's HVAC company. We'll be like, hey, this is whatever name, Arthur, with Turch and Josh's HVAC company. I am their Avoca AI assistant. How can I help you today? And then it'll be, oh, well, my air conditioning's broken. And then we'll be like, oh, okay, well, we're sorry to hear about that. We'll collect a few details. And then once we collect those details, the AI agent does that. Then they will be able to, basically we have, ability to integrate with ServiceTitan through their API. So we basically take that information and then we are able to programmatically book a job in ServiceTitan for you.
Can it see our schedule and say, we're booked out until XYZ date, or can it say, we have availability for this afternoon, or that type of thing?
Yep, it can do that. So because ServiceTitan allows for read and write capabilities, we're able to see, the schedule and be able to do some logic to be able to book in the right time. Now there's also there's a variety of different systems, ways that people do things. A lot of folks just liked us to kind of schedule the job as a placeholder for the next day, and then they'll separately have a dispatch function that goes and takes kind of that job and then specifies exactly what time during that day and which technician will be kind of put on that job. So yeah, there's kind of.
And you're saying they do that separately, like the company does it themselves, or does the AI agent do that?
Right now, we a lot of our companies will want us to default schedule to the next day, in kind of and then basically mark it as office or mark it as a kind of
like unassigned,
and then have the dispatcher then optimally assign at the right time.
Gotcha.
But the key is to just get that initial schedule, because that's as a HVAC company, your priority is just don't lose the customer. And so by getting that scheduled in service time, it's very helpful, because then, you get the automated text message confirmation. And that's what is, allowing you to keep that customer and make sure that.
Right. Cause then they stop looking for somebody else.
Exactly.
And I think of, summers when I've spent, in the office, and we would have 3 of us in the office. Our primary CSR, I would be backup, and then our administrator would be the third backup. We'd all be on the phone at the same time. So our overflow answering service was taking calls. And then the problem with the answering service industry to date has been, when the industry's busy is when the performance is the worst, even though that's when we need it to be the best.
Yep.
Right? Like the performance, like they don't have enough people, because staffing gets really difficult because they have to hire for like 3 or 4 months. Mm-hmm. And then, the call volume drops after that. And it's a tough thing to do, where something like this, theoretically, if you have an agent, you could have 5 agents, you could have 10, you could have an unlimited amount of agents that can answer the phone at any given time as a backup or an after hours solution or a weekend solution.
Yes.
So that's where it's enticing for me. It's not about necessarily replacing the people that are there.
Absolutely.
Some human oversight needs to happen, but I think handling those extreme demand times, because we get a lot of at Relentless Digital, we have a lot of reporting around calls and missed calls and reasons and all of these different things. Companies miss a lot of calls, whether they think they do or not. They do.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
It just happens. And whether the calls are abandoned, or there's a phone issue, or they just don't have the people or resources to pick up the phone. And this really solves that immediate problem of like, okay, if I have 1 or 2 CSRs, or if I have 5, now I can have a potentially unlimited amount. So if I have 10 calls coming at the same time, they can all get answered.
Exactly.
What is the limitation on the amount of calls that can be handled at the same time?
Really, there is no. We can handle essentially an endless number of calls, completely paralyzed, because it's just all running in the cloud, right? So we can. I think the most that we've seen and tested that works well is 50, but yeah, it could easily go above that as well.
Are you limited by the VoIP system? Is there a limitation there?
That's what my question was going to be.
No,
well, I thought of it first, Josh. So
we haven't seen any type of case in reality where the system has had to drop a call because there's been too many. So the short answer is I don't think so, but
okay.
Yeah, we maybe it is possible if you get to a large enough amount that there could be some things going on.
I'm sure at some point we'll figure out the answer to that question.
Leave it to me, I'll break it.
Yeah. Church is going to develop like 100 AI bots to call at the same time just to see if he can break this thing.
So how do you handle objections? Because like you said before, our goal as a service business is to get the call booked. And so I will say there are certain people who we do not want to book a call with, and it's going to be very difficult for you to know that individual. Do you just book it and then the dispatcher later on calls and says, hey, look, you're on the do not service list. So sucks to be you, but we're not servicing you. Like, how do you handle that?
Yeah, no, great question. So we are able to take into account, a lot of different information. And so if you do have a do not serve list, it's actually as easy as we can just ingest that. And then if you have like that list and number, then we can automatically just not take the call or give them a kind of a automated response. If you have the number. If you have the name but not the number, we can gather the name, and then once we recognize that it's on the do not serve list, we can also be able to handle it, whatever way that you desire. And in terms of objections, that's a really good question, because I think, as you mentioned, the goal is to really optimize everything, right? Like you want to, one thing that we kind of like to say is like, in a lot of organizations, you have some CSRs that are much better and just perform higher for whatever reason than everyone else. And kind of one of our goals is, how do we make an agent that is consistently performing at that high level? And a lot of that has to do with tenure as well, right? It's like as you guys know, like CSRs, especially in the HVAC industry, is probably one of the most highest turnover positions. And so a lot of the problems is the newer guys. They don't know exactly how to handle every objection. They may not even have full knowledge about how to answer certain general questions. And so the way we do that is we actually create a knowledge base, and the knowledge base is consistently evolving as we take more and more calls. So it kind of gets smarter. But the knowledge base is initially populated with kind of input directly from the business. So we will basically work with the call center kind of head or like an operations manager to essentially create an initial knowledge base that essentially it ingests like guides that ideally you already have, right? So like you might already have objections,
hours of operation, or if you have certain how to handle these objections, like you have a list of them.
Yes.
So I think what it comes, like some of this stuff, what it comes down to for me is having a great initial SOP in place, like how to handle these things. If you have it in writing,
exactly,
you can hand it off to an agent or a company or a product like yourself, and then obviously that can learn from there. Because the prompt stuff, like we've been working on some stuff in the background, like figuring out the order to put the prompts and some of these other things. Like some of that stuff can get really daunting to try to figure out yourself.
Yep.
And I don't know what other information is useful. So obviously, like objection information is useful. But like if companies wanted to start thinking about maybe okay, so pricing. Is there anything else that's super useful for like people to prepare, or if they decide, hey, I want to talk to Avoca, but they should prepare some information ahead of time so they have it ready for you?
Yes, absolutely. So usually what we like to get, it's part of our onboarding process, and we have a template. But yeah, you named a lot of the key pieces. So we want to have generally a script. So a lot of folks already use after hours call centers, and so you have like some simple script with an opening line, a closing line. Here's the information that we want to collect. Here's information needed to book a job in Service Titan. Then we'll need your Service Titan API credentials in order to be able to build that integration. And then beyond that, it's just, some of the basics like hours of operation, if you charge a diagnostic fee, what type of jobs do you service? There may also be some things around like how do you, like what type of units you're able to service, your location, a few of these kind of basic things.
Your service area.
So like if somebody says they're in this area, you can say, hey, no, you're outside of our service area.
Yes.
It's like I'm booking a job that's an hour away.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, all of those things, we kind of have a standardized template, but you fill it out. It's pretty quick. And then the way I like to think about it sometimes is it's actually not too dissimilar from some of these existing after hours call centers. But I think some of the key advantages of a more AI based approach is consistency, right? You'll be able to consistently have an agent that has zero hold time, right? So sometimes after hours, especially, you get a service.
That's a big problem.
They might be a minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes. Customer might have already left, and you just lost a $20,000 job. For us, we pick up immediately, no accents. Agent's always in a good mood, and it's very consistent, right? You're able to very clearly define, exactly what the agent says and the flow, and exactly how it handles objections to a certain degree.
So you literally led right into Steve's question here. He posted a question. How soon till the voice is next to unrecognizable from a human?
I think part of what Steven's asking is the latency also.
Yes.
Like, good.
Latency and like just
the quality
the quality of the voice.
Yes. That is a very, very good question. It's something we think about a lot here at Avoca every day. I think the short answer is that if we were to kind of limit it to like a very limited interaction, like a phrase, then even the current capabilities are very close, in that if you were to just record my voice and then you were to record an AI generated version of my voice, there's actually a chance that even today you may not be able to decipher which one's the real voice and which one is the AI generated voice. If it was just like me saying a few phrases, or maybe like a monologue. But obviously that's not the nature of phone calls, right? And so with phone calls, there's a lot more of the human element in terms of latency. That's something we've kind of worked quite a while now. Better half of this past year has been on optimizing kind of every inch, every percentage of latency that we can get, because that's, it has to be fast. Otherwise, it's just going to be annoying to talk to. And then the other thing is actually a little bit more nuanced. It's around, when you're talking to someone, sometimes it's not always just a back and forth. Like, we're having a conversation right now. Sometimes you guys will chime in with some quick kind of agreement sounds. Guys, you guys may also, we may be times where we're slightly talking over each other. And so those are kind of the areas where there's still some ways to go before it's completely like indecipherable. And so
that's a really good point, because I know Service Titan had this issue. I don't know if it still is an issue, and that is the delay between conversation. So like there was like 10 seconds from the time that they said something till we heard it. So you had to, as a CSR, begin your talking before they're finished if you want it to end exactly when they finish talking. Otherwise, there's like a 10-second delay, and they're like, "Are you still there? Are you still?" And then it turns into an awkward conversation.
And then it just becomes really awkward. And part of it is also the transcription, right? Like being able to decipher and understand people very clearly. And that's one of the other things that AI, is still not perfect right now, which is if there's background noise, if there's a song playing in the background, being able to kind of decipher that. I would say, our latency is probably one of the best in the space right now, but it is still, you can, and that's why we're very upfront and we just say, hey, we're Avoca, we are an AI assistant for this company. So it's like, we'll kind of be very transparent that we are an AI agent.
That's got to be crazy, the background noise part of it, because there's times where people are calling and they're like in a crowd of people, and I, as a human, are like, I'm like, have to concentrate to really hear what they're saying. I can't imagine an AI bot or an agent trying to transcribe what they're saying, and then it throws in this
kids screaming in the background or whatever.
I've
listened to our clients' calls, and I'll hear kids screaming in the background or whatever.
And then somebody's like, "Shut the hell up!" And you're like, the AI agent's like, "Sorry, I didn't say anything."
Yes, exactly. But yeah, all these things are things that I think are there are issues, but they are getting solved one by one. And so it's one of those things where this is a space where you really have to kind of optimize a lot of these small things, but and pay a lot of attention and just really kind of focus on getting all the little things right. But once you do, I think it's just gonna continue to get better. And so that also kind of brings me to maybe two other quick points I want to mention, which is, for us, our obviously our core product is kind of the full AI receptionist, and it works quite well for overnight calls because the script is typically like a little bit easier, and we're typically replacing a service that in any case just is basically just collecting information. And we're able to do a bit better in terms of the service time integration. But we also do offer, we have our own call centers as well. So completely US based. And so it's also, we also have basically a hybrid solution where we use actual humans as part of our service as well. And then we also offer texting support. So especially with the newer, younger generation, everyone actually prefers texting a bit more to actually calling in. And so with the texting functionality, they're able to just text into a line and talk with an AI agent and be able to book their call completely over text. That also integrates directly. That's
a great point. Tyson, I had a call this morning from a Las Vegas number. It just said Las Vegas. Decline the call. I wait till the voicemail comes through. Hi, this is Harry. Something. Can you call me? Give me a call back. And I'm like, I have no freaking clue who you are, where you're from, what you're calling about. So I texted. Of course, there's been no answer, probably because they can't text. But that stuff happens to businesses all the time. They get these calls and they're like, I don't know who this is. I mean, homeowners, I tend to believe I'm a pretty normal homeowner. Like if I don't know who's calling me, I'm like, yeah, I'm not answering that phone. Because you just don't know what you're going to try to get sold today, or Google's going to tell you that your maps listing is this, that, or the other thing. Maybe that's just me. But it's great to have multiple solutions there.
So Steve made a great point, and I'm sure that this is something, I don't know, you tell us how realistic this conversation is, but he said too much noise, we can say that I'm having a hard time understanding you. Would you prefer a text conversation and press 1 and transition to text conversation? Is that similar to what can be done?
Yeah, actually Steve must have read our mind or knows some intel, because that's
don't give him too much credit. He's not that smart.
Steve's smart.
We do something very similar. Basically, we ask in the beginning of conversations whether they would prefer to actually book the appointment through text or continue with over the phone. And basically give them those options. So a lot of people prefer to opt into the text method. And then, so even if they, and some people just text in to start with too.
Mm-hmm. Do you, so it's funny because one of the sponsors of the show, Justin Riley of Upfrog, posted literally this morning about, because obviously IVR solutions have been like, press 1 for new customer, 2 for existing or whatever. But he proposed a solution like something similar where it's like, instead of doing that, it's like, hey, you can press 1 to talk to our AI agent, or wait for a human agent on 2, or text in at 3, or whatever the case is. So that way people can kind of have a preference.
Yep.
Do you see something like that becoming more prevalent as we move forward here? Or is that it's just an idea to kind of help right now if they need something?
Yeah, I mean, I think it makes a ton of sense. I think ideally, giving people the choice, I think is generally good, because you're kind of able to meet them where they want to be met. And as exactly as Steve says, right? Like people are busy and they like to do if you're on doing something else, watching TV while you're scheduling an appointment, texting is way better. Now at the same time though, as a business owner, you also want to just think about what is the most effective means where you can maximize the chance of closing. So that's also part of the equation. But I mean, I think we're kind of already leaning into that a bit and headed to that direction of, kind of, hey, choose how you want to go about doing this, and then we'll make that experience as good as possible.
So Tyson, Jim asked a question here in the chat bar. How many home service sectors do you have as clients? I think you answered this a little earlier, I believe, but could you go into a little bit more detail there?
Yes, absolutely. So our main focus right now is really on the two segments, HVAC and plumbing. That's really our kind of focus. Although we do, once in a while, we do actually have a few other, we have service in the past, handymen, cleaning services, and then I think we got one guy in the electrical world. And then I think actually a final one, which is more in the painting. Those are a bit more kind of one-off, or it works, but we're not necessarily directly integrated into their CRMs, and so it's basically not deep focused.
That's a great point that you bring up there. How do you handle situations when someone has a CRM that you are not currently integrated via like an API or something like that?
Yep. So the way we think about that is, if a customer segment that we think, fits kind of in our ideal vision of, this is a customer segment for which our product can bring a lot of value to, then we will see, okay, how many more folks are kind of interested in this? And if there's enough interest, then we'll build that integration. It's usually any somewhat mature CRM will have API access and API endpoints to allow us to integrate into. So then we'll build that new integration.
So what happens if they don't have it and they're not going to be integrating with you? Like, how do they still get the information?
Yeah. So if they don't have a direct API integration, we typically, unless it's there's overwhelming interest, we will just kind of not be able to integrate with them. However, there are other ways, and we have done some things where we can actually basically build. It's kind of a web scraping. It's more of like a hacky web scraping approach, but essentially you use browser control, and essentially instead of an API, you're just basically using you have a script that essentially moves the actual cursor to be able to directly enter in information as if it was a person doing it.
So they would still do it. I mean, so in my mind, I thought that you would go to, say, we would collect all the information and then send it over to them via like an email.
That we could do. That's always, we always do that. That's
does it take does it summarize it, or is it put in like a certain format? Because I'm thinking, like, when I had the last answering service we worked with, always put like a certain format of like name, address, all the stuff, and then like what was wrong, and then would send a text to our on-call technician, because we didn't have our answering service booked to jobs. We sent a text to the technician, and then the technician would be their responsibility to contact the customer and book the appointment.
Yeah. So for us, we do all three. So we always send a text and email after every call with a summary and exactly the fields that are required in a table format. And so we always send those texts and emails. But then in addition to that, we typically go that kind of extra step and actually make that job in the CRM.
That's awesome. No, because I mean, obviously, if you only integrate with certain CRMs, at least the point is you can still use the service and you can still get the information. You would just have to have a person manually enter the information into whatever CRM, even if they're using Quick. I mean, we have clients that just use QuickBooks, so you can at least put the information. Yeah, don't laugh.
I thought QuickBooks is accounting software.
Well, you can at least you can still put like the customer's information.
It is, just so you know, it is.
Yeah. There's some that just use paper still, so there's that too. The home service, and Tyson, you're probably realizing this because Tersh and I've been in the home service space a long time. We tend to
look at his beard. He's been there a lot longer than I
have. The space in general typically moves very slowly.
Yeah.
Like CRMs have been available for a number of years, like cloud-based ones, but like it wasn't really until like 2015, 16 where it really started to kind of kick into the home service industry, where we started having like iPads and all that stuff.
2018, probably closer.
It was it wasn't like literally. I remember when we integrated like with the new CRM and had a tablet stuff. I'm like, there's nobody else doing this in our market.
Yeah.
And that was only like 5 or 6 years ago. So it's definitely, we move a little slowly. Have you found that where like people have a conversation with you guys and they're like just totally mind blown of what possibilities are coming?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, yeah, spot on. I think there's a lot of interest and kind of intrigue in the technology. But then, yeah, there's definitely a bit of a apprehension as well in that, okay, well, my customers are so used to listening to kind of a human voice, and, bringing them kind of fully, 0 to 1 right away. This new mode of communication is a little tough. And so, we do see that, certainly, and it makes a ton of sense. There's a few things we do to kind of alleviate that fear a little bit. So one is that, again, we do offer the hybrid approach where, instead of kind of leaping right away to fully AI solution, we still have a human call center approach, but it's powered in the background by AI. And so the idea being that the AI is in the background, kind of doing a bit of the coaching, understanding, helping the rep be able to say exactly kind of the right things. And then the other thing is that, for folks that are a little bit apprehensive of starting right away, we also do we allow like a pilot/trial period where they're able to just, hey, like no strings attached, try out the product, see if you like it, for a couple weeks, before you fully kind of move over to our service.
I think that's smart. I think that's that's why I mentioned about the change in the industry, because we've seen a ton of interest. One, people don't know how to get started with any of this stuff. And then two, the ones that do, they're like, I'm not sure, like, how are my customers going to react? With that in mind, do you have because there's two trains of thought, right? Like one, well, don't tell customers it's an AI bot, right? They just give it a name and like, hey, maybe they won't be able to tell.
Yep.
And then two is like, just say maybe you can still name it, but say, hey, this is ABC Heating and Air's AI assistant. How can I help you? Type thing. What do you think? I guess, what has your experience been? Do you have companies doing both, or are they mostly saying that this is an AI agent or AI assistant?
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely in the kind of school of thought of the second, where we just want to be upfront, truthful, and again, I don't think they're again. It comes back to, I think, in a very isolated kind of 5-10 second chunk, you may be able to fully seem like a complete human, but I haven't seen any agent over a course of a 3 to 5 minute call be able to fully, basically in any 3 to 5 minute call, I think it is quite obvious that you're speaking to an agent. And so for that reason alone, we always are just upfront about it. But yeah, in terms of other companies, I haven't done enough actual real demos and encountered other agents to see kind of exactly what folks are doing.
What about, so as far as your client, like, so they're calling in, or someone's calling in, they're saying, hey, this is ABC Heating and Air's AI assistant. What pushback, or has there been any negative feedback that you've received on?
Has anybody said
how people are reacting to that?
Speak to person, speak to human, speak to human, speak to human. Like, just not even give it a chance.
We have. We've had all types of things. When people realize that it's an AI agent able to have a conversation, we've had people call and ask it to tell jokes. We've had people be like, who is your master? Like, there's been all types of funny things that people like to say. The speak to a human is actually common. In that case, if there is a ability for us to transfer to someone, we just do that.
Do you ever, what if there's not that ability? Can you tell them, hey, I can send you to a voicemail box?
Yeah, exactly. We can hey,
Okay.
leave a message for us, or then we'll try, hey, like we don't have anyone readily available right now, but we do have some folks that can help you over the text, and then we'll transfer the text.
Okay. That's not too crazy, I don't guess.
No.
Have you had anybody, I'm sure probably so, but have you had anybody just like as soon as they realized it was AI, they just hung up?
That doesn't normally happen.
Okay.
I think, has it ever happened? It may have happened. It may have happened once. This was
Oh, so
probably
that's really like uncommon for it to happen.
So it's
very.
not common. So it's
We
not common.
we may have happened. This may have happened like 6 months ago in more of our early versions where AI sounded a lot more robotic, but
Yeah.
as of recent, it has not happened.
How often are there updates on like changes? Because
Mm.
even some of the stuff that we hear that are like advertisement commercials, videos, or whatnot that are only a couple months old, like some of those are even dated that they don't even sound the same way anymore. How often are things changing there?
Very often is the short answer. I mean, in terms of the core, because we basically, the idea is like there's one kind of core AI agent model that
Mhm.
we've kind of developed that is kind of like the core brains of the system. In that we update relatively regularly, maybe every 2 weeks or so. There's probably a major update, something that's like like noticeably different. Oh no, I guess like noticeably different or kind of a new functionality. And then in terms of the individual kind of agent and what it says for the individual business, that is constantly changing because every conversation that happens, the AI is able to understand. Okay, what these are the things I did well that allowed me to get that allowed me to lead this booking. Every time it doesn't get a booking, that is another training data point as well. It's like, okay, these are things that I did okay, and then for some reason it didn't get a booking. And over tens, hundreds of these, it's able to improve and get better from an individual basis. But that's more of like, okay, what it says and like the content. And then the first thing I was talking about is kind of the overall skeleton and like the main kind of engine.
Yeah.
So you can kind of think about it in kind of those two ways.
So how well does it say HVAC? Because like some of the like even the answering service that I have, like our call center.
Yeah.
So we use CallRail, and you can either type in the like if they go to voicemail, you can type in the message, or you can you can say your message that you want it to say. And I typed in like, "Thank you for calling Service Emperor, HVAC, Plumbing, and Electrical," and it paused in the wrong spots, or not wrong. Well, yeah, they were wrong spots because it sounded awkward, the way that it would make random pauses. And I purposely put commas for pauses where they needed to pause, and I didn't add them where they didn't need pausing. And it was a very awkward listen whenever I listened to that voicemail.
Yeah, no, I think our system, again, because it's trained on the this industry, that's one area where it is able to perform pretty well. It
Okay.
understands the lingo, and it can say things like HVAC and other things pretty well.
Does it, whenever it's talking with a homeowner that may not necessarily understand what HVAC is, does it still use industry jargon, or is it going to, I don't want to say dumb it down, but essentially dumb it down for the consumer?
Yeah, so I mean that's something that you can that is possible. That if the business owner wants it to kind of dumb it down and just say air conditioning,
Mm-hmm.
but also I mean it's smart enough where if it's for example sometimes we ask the question for businesses that provide both HVAC and plumbing services as part of their script they want a question that's literally, hey, are you looking for HVAC or plumbing today? And so then if the customer's like, well, what's HVAC? Then our AI
Mm-hmm.
actually was able to respond, well, HVAC just stands for heating, ventilation, air conditioning.
Yeah. Cool.
That's wild. No, it's really cool. Tyson, if people want it, because I know you guys have some videos out there of your AI agent in action. Where is the best place for them to kind of see that and start kind of getting into that world to see what's possible?
We'll also have that on our recommended resources page.
Yeah, that's great. They can find more information about us at our website, which is Avoca.ai. Avoca is spelled AVOCA, and they can see all our demos. They can also book a call with us if they're interested in learning more and want to potentially work with us. I think other than that, I saw Jim had a question around home inspection companies. Maybe to just answer Jim quickly. Again, it's a area where we could work with you guys, but it is very dependent on the CRM, and so our main focus is HVAC and plumbing. But happy to chat with you more, Jim, if you're curious to see in what way we can also help you guys.
I love your reasoning behind being so focused on HVAC and plumbing, and just the fact that you're not spread crazy thin trying to figure out all these different industries, every possible industry under the sun. Instead, you're getting very focused on the conversations that are being had with these home service businesses.
Exactly. I think for us, it just made a ton of sense because the value is there, right? Like with home services, a call that's missed or improperly handled has such a large weight and such a large opportunity cost associated. So it made a lot of natural sense. And it's also an industry where, there's just a lot of kind of software that's, you need deep integrations with. And so really to be able to service this industry properly, it's something that requires a lot of focus and attention. And so that's kind of our reasoning there.
Cool.
Awesome.
Josh, you have any other questions?
No, this is great, Tyson. Thanks for taking the time to kind of tell us where the space is at and what's coming. So
I'm sure
it's an exciting time.
We'll need you back on in probably 3 weeks because it'll probably all change by then.
Absolutely. It was a pleasure. And thank you guys so much for having me on the show.
Cool. We appreciate you. We appreciate everybody that's listening to or watching this episode. If you have any questions, remember Avoca.ai to learn more about what they have. And then if you have any questions for Josh or I, servicebusinessmastery.com. And there's a little green button at the bottom right of the screen. Feel free to click that and record a little message, and it comes to Josh and I, and we'll answer it as soon as possible. But with that being said, I hope you have a wonderful and safe week until we talk again next time. We'll see you. Thank you again for watching the Service Business Mastery Podcast.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Service Business Mastery. Now that you are equipped with essential business advice from this impactful conversation, you are one step closer to becoming the successful owner of your dreams. If this episode has been helpful to your business journey, don't forget to subscribe to the show, leave a rating, and share it with other owners as well. Visit servicebusinessmastery.com to learn more.